All right, so we got a few different things going on here with Sampler. I'm going to see how they fit together in a bit. Right now, I'm just creating some weird stuff because that's just how I roll. I'm going to add one more track here with another blank sampler, and we're going to get some more multi-sample action cracking. Let me go ahead and create a new multi-sample. This time, I want to go for something a bit more melodic, and I want to be able to take advantage of some of the different ways that I can layer the key zones. In the previous example, I brought in a couple different drum samples, and I just made it so that each key triggered one drum sample, and shorten the loop points and whatnot. But we didn't do anything to actually like really effectively layer and combine those sounds. So I want to take that approach now. These are synth drums. I have a feeling this clave is going to come in handy. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here. Now, as I'm dropping this in here, I'm moving my mouse up. I don't want to move it up to get it across all keys, but this is an octave range here, and I think that'll be okay for now. So from C2, okay. So for now, I'm going to leave that there. Now, before I add some more samples, I do want to point something out. If we look up here in the upper right corner of our expanded view, we have a couple different layouts for the key zones in this particular window. In the window that I'm looking in right now, if I bring in key zones and they overlap in terms of the keyboard ranges, we're just going to see them as like blocks on top of each other. For example, let me bring in another sample. Here we go. Yeah, why not? We'll bring this in as well. All right, so for example, I'm going to make the key zone here a little bit wider. If I was to make it so that these two overlap, like that, we can see one covers the other. If we made it so that they perfectly overlap, well, it's not quite perfect, but the one that's a bit bigger now completely covers the other one. Well, how do we get to the key zone that we can't see? Well, one way that we could do that is by simply clicking on the name of it here, and then we can see it. If we weren't able to visibly see it and still wanted to move it, we have the information about that key zone over here as well. And we're going to get to all this in just a second. Now, if I go back to these two icons here, if I click on this one, now I'm able to see the different key zones laid out as different horizontal rows. So this can make it a little bit easier when it comes to layering our sounds. And this is what I'm going to be focusing on for now. In addition to that, I also have another area over here where I can either establish what range of velocities will trigger a specific key zone, or assign the key zone to a range of select zones where we can use the select knob in order to choose what sample we're going to play. We'll get into all that in a bit. For now, these two are layered on the same range of keys. So now they're both playing at the same time. Okay. I'm going to grab one or two more samples here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab this. I'm going to throw this in as well. And yeah, we'll do it like this. Okay. Now, we have all these samples loaded into the sampler, but there's one problem. They all have different root pitches. So when I'm playing one note on the sampler, these samples are playing back and they're playing different notes, and I don't want that. I want to make it so that when I play a note on the keyboard, all the samples are playing back the same pitch. In order to fix that, more than likely, I'm going to have to change the root note of the samples. Now, keep in mind with the sampler instrument, when you load multiple samples in here, it treats them all as part of one instrument patch. And if I change the pitch knob here, it's going to change the pitch of all the samples loaded into sampler. So let's start from the root of the problem. I need to change the root pitch here. One obvious issue that I can see, since these samples came from sample packs and they list the key of the sample, one of the samples is in the key of A, one of them is in the key of C. That's one big problem. The other one is my third sample is a percussive sample, which doesn't really naturally generate a pitch. So what I will do first, I'm going to go ahead and make it so that the first and third sample will only be triggered with lower velocities. We'll get into that very, very shortly. But right now, when I'm playing notes, the notes I'm triggering are at maximum velocity. It's only triggering this zone here. Now, this particular zone, I think should be fine. And I want to make sure that I can make this key zone match the pitch of this one. But let's take a look at something here. When I'm playing a note here, it's telling me that the root note is F2, which means that I would have to play F2, which is here, to hear the sample play at its original pitch. The original pitch of the sample should be C. So It probably makes sense for me to make the root note C as well, so that when I play C, I actually hear the pitch of C. So I'm going to change the root note to C2. Now when I play C2 on my keyboard, I hear the pitch of C2. And we can see the root note, that little, I don't know, barbershop pole thing is moved there. Let me go ahead and get some crossfading happening. There we go. All right, so now I want to hear this third zone together with the first one, and I want to get the pitch of this zone to match the pitch of the one above it. Turn the gain down here a bit of the sample. So we can see the root of this particular zone also says C2, but that clearly can't be right. It's saying here that the pitch of this is A. Let me go ahead and change the root note to A and see if that helps. It does. Now you notice when I move the root pitch lower, I'm playing a note that is C2. The root pitch is E1 now, which means that if I play it at C2, it's going to play it at a higher pitch. That's why it sounds so much faster. So A should be the root, but I think I want to make it A2. Nice. Okay, that works. All right, now with this woodblock sound here, what I want to do ultimately is just change the root pitch of it to make it a bit lower. Let me go ahead and just, okay, let's see. So if I select my woodblock, okay, apparently the key of A, it works for that too. Let's go ahead and make it so that's even an octave lower. Ooh, how about one more octave? Okay, life is good. Let's go ahead and, okay, so now any pitches that I play, and again, only the notes in these key zones are actually going to trigger these samples. Okay, so far, so good. But of course, now there's a lot more we can do because we have 3 samples in here. We've adjusted the root pitch, so now when we play notes on the keyboard, they're all going to play in tune. So let's do some more with our multi-sample patch.